welcome to another episode of Arts and Crafts with Zoo Dark. Today I'm joined by your local news anchor, Paul from the Terrible Texan.
Hello.
Introduce yourself, Paul. Who are you?
I got to introduce myself again. I am Paul Nelson, the lead singer and rhythm guitarist of the Terrible Texan. This is my second appearance on the show, and you'll never see the first one.
No, it's lost to the annals of history. What happened there was I was using a program, I won't name it, but the audio was garbage on it. For whatever reason, it was going line out to or from both of our computers instead of our mics. So I don't know why that was happening. And then it actually told me it violated the terms of service. I can still view it, but I can't post it anywhere because I can't rip it and save a file out of it.
What did we do?
I don't know. I don't know if mentioning the word Texas on stream is illegal or what the deal is, but yeah, they told me I couldn't have it. So it's just sitting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, we're gonna do everything.
Wow.
We're gonna do everything all over again because we did it all once and it was awesome and I enjoyed it and I'm sure you enjoyed it, but nobody else is going to get to. So let's do a
Can I
quick
swear?
of course.
Okay, that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
This
dude.
is a good fucking show.
It was. We talked about The Room. We talked about what else did we talk about on there?
Did you see The Room?
So funny thing, I bought it. I haven't watched it yet, but I did buy it off Amazon on that one stream. So I've been on this kick lately, dude. I went to Best Buy like probably 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I haven't been to a Best Buy in probably 5 years, 6 years. And I went to go get Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It's an old school Sega Genesis game, and they ported it over to PS4. So I went and grabbed that, and then I also grabbed Back to the Future, and then I got the Wishmaster collection, and it's just like everything that I've got. It's just like, well, I'll get to The Room because I know going into it, it's gonna be schlocky, and like the value of it is not in the greatness of the movie. It's in the badness of the movie.
The thing is, and this is the part that you won't understand until you see it.
Okay.
It's done so well in all regards, except for the acting.
I think that makes it better though, because like some of my favorite movies have terrible acting. Like the original, oh, there's two of them. Okay, so one of them is Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser.
Yeah,
Pretty rough. And then the other one is the first Phantasm movie.
I haven't seen that one.
You should watch all the Phantasm movies. They're great. They get better as they go, but the first two, man, the acting, whew, it's rough. It screams college art film.
All right, I'll check it out. I saw this one film. My buddy Steven came over, and he's like, "Man, there's this film. I think they have a copy of it on YouTube. It's kind of long. It's like this artistic representation of Genesis. It's like really really cool." I don't even remember what it was called. I couldn't get through 10 minutes of it because it opens up and it's like this like dilapidated cabin in the woods, and it's like this lady sitting in a chair with like a knife, and she's cutting out her intestines, just pulling it open, screaming for like 8 minutes. Nothing else is going on. It's in black and white. It looks like it's filmed in like 1918 maybe, and it's supposed to be like the telling of like the beginning of the world in like this horror-esque genre. It was really disturbing. I couldn't get through more than like 10 minutes of it.
You saying that reminded me of one of the things we talked about. We talked about MK Ultra briefly because that sounds
Yeah,
like some MK Ultra brainwashing, scary propaganda film shit.
it's pretty much what it was.
Do you remember? You don't remember what it was called?
No, let me text him.
Son of a bitch. There's some freaky shit on YouTube, dude. When you dig into the deep corners of it, there's like that I think it's called I Feel Happy, the one with the android girl. Have you seen that?
No.
Dude, it's
What's that
freaky.
about?
It's just it's an android robot girl in a room filmed on what looks like a high 8 or something. It's really, really bad quality. And she's just doing these like very robotic, jerky kind of Silent Hill nurse movements and talking about or she's kind of like sing-songing, I feel happy, I feel happy. It's super fucking creepy. And there's
Huh.
like, I think somebody explained it away. It was like some kind of art film or something, but dude, it's so fucking unnerving.
I'm sure. I don't blame you. All right, we're figuring out what this fucking movie's called. 'cause it's driving me mad now.
We're doing it. What's the most fucked up thing you've seen on YouTube besides that?
Um, besides that, man, YouTube removed a lot of the fucked up stuff.
They did.
If I got to think about anything, I think it would have been in like junior high. Like these people out in the Middle East somewhere, they were like just slaughtering camels.
Ugh.
And it was so weird because they would like slit the throat of these camels and the camels would just like collapse forward and then just start like twitching and like spewing blood everywhere. It was really fucked up.
What the
So yeah.
was it like military or was it like some like ISIS shit or what was it?
No, it was like scientific or like food processing or something. They were like in these hazmat suits. It was like really like clean and it was weird.
That's fucking freaky, dude.
Yeah, man.
Ugh. Yeah, I've seen did you ever go to the website Nothing's Toxic or nothingtoxic.com?
No.
Dude, one of the worst mistakes of my life that I wish I could undo. Back in the day, probably 2000, I want to say it was 2016, 2015. So not too long ago, but someone sent me a link to I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something not super graphic, but like I think a guy like lost his finger in a wood chipper or something. It was
Mhm.
gory, but not like woo. But I was kind of going around and they have suggested videos on there for some fucking reason. And one of the ones on there was a cartel beheading. And it was these two guys were like racing. One guy was using a chainsaw and one guy was using a machete. And they had these two guys that were sitting on the ground. They were just like cuffed up and these guys were like filming and they were like laughing and they made a joke out of it and shit. But one guy, spoiler alert, in case you're gonna go look, the machete guy wins. But the chainsaw guy is like when you think about someone decapitating someone with a chainsaw, like you see in the movies, you think it's just one clean cut pass through or whatever. The thing people always forget about is the spine. The spinal cord
Yeah.
does not want to give up the ghost, so to speak. And when he wasn't making a clean cut, it wasn't all one cut. He was kind of hitting and bouncing off and hitting and bouncing off, and it was really fucking violent and traumatizing. The other guy, the machete guy, was just going to town. It was like he was going to work on a coconut. Just he got through. That guy was
Jesus
just
Christ.
super fucking efficient. But yeah, and then I got on this kick, and I was at work during the time, dude. I was working at a call center selling solar, and when I went back into the office, I was a couple shades paler, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to talk to anyone today. I just want to watch cartoons. It was very
Don't blame
traumatizing.
you.
The other one I saw in there that really got to me was they had like a did you ever see ABCs of Death?
No.
Okay. So it's basically it's dramatizations, but it's like it's kind of like a less funny version of that show, 50 or 1,000 Ways to Die.
Okay.
And one of there was a compilation video on there of suicides. I don't know what part of the human psyche makes you interested in this stuff, but everybody goes down these rabbit holes, and then like if you're not a psychopath, you don't maybe immediately, but you very soon after regret it. And
Yeah.
I was cool with it because I'm very desensitized to gore and violence. Because when you see it on a screen, your mind kind of, just affiliates it with like a horror movie or something. The difference is when they don't act how actors act when they die. Like when you see someone actually, like there's a video of a politician named Bud Dwyer. He was on camera
Mhm.
and I think he got caught embezzling money. He did something and he was going to go to prison. And it was during his big media release thing, I guess. And he had an envelope on stage with him the whole time. And he pulls out a fucking revolver. I think it was like a 38 special or something. And he just caps himself on fucking live news. And it was just,
Jesus.
dude, it's fucking crazy how easy that shit is to find. Yet on certain applications, which again I won't name, you can't say certain words or else they'll pull your video.
Huh.
Censorship is a fucked up thing. And
It is. In fact, can I talk about something?
you can, please do.
The Spotify algorithm.
Oh, let's get into this.
I mean, the Terrible Texan has been a band for how long? Like a year and a half now?
Yeah, about that.
2021? Yeah. And in that year and a half, I have learned so much. And one of the big things about Spotify is its intuitive algorithm in showing people new music. However, there's a catch. In Yeah, I don't really know because I'm not entirely 100% sure about this because Spotify's not even clear about this. I really think you have to be in like the top 1% of all artists on Spotify in order to even get recommended. Because you can be in the algorithmic playlist, but that's just the algorithmic playlist of people who have already listened to your music. They don't actually push the music. In fact, they removed the release radar feature. So if you have 120 followers or whatever, and you release a new song, that song's not actually going to be on release radar for them.
Really? When did they pull it?
They changed that last year in like August or something. They changed the wording on the website even, and it proved it because because I've got 120 followers on Spotify. I should have at least 30 or 40 streams on release radar per track,
Yeah.
essentially, theoretically, being very conservative with the numbers as well. But I've got
Five.
five in the last month. And within the last month, we've released 4 songs. And well, actually, yeah, 4 songs. Plain and Pollution came out in November. So,
So it's weird to me how Spotify works, bro. It's in their best interest to promote artists that are up and coming because
for sure.
SoundCloud did that, and look how many
Uh-oh.
careers. What?
Oh, we froze, and I was like, oh, shutting us down.
Oh, no, 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 no. We're okay. We're okay. I promise we're getting off the suicide and nothing toxic talk. Please,
Yeah.
internet gods, don't freeze my fucking stream. Um, but on SoundCloud, you had guys like Juice World and fuck, so many dudes, so many SoundCloud
Mhm.
rappers. They made their own genre out of it. And the reason that worked and the reason SoundCloud is even still relevant is because they promoted up and coming artists. They took a chance on people. Their algorithm noticed trends before they really became trends.
Mhm.
Spotify is playing it safe and promoting, because when I go on Spotify to look up, you know, even something popular like the Joe Rogan Experience, it'll first suggest NPR's podcast or the
Huh.
guy from the fuck is his name? Not Dottie too. It promotes stuff that's already very, very well established. And I understand why they do that. They want the stream revenue. But at the same time, for Spotify to start launching careers the way TikTok has, the way that SoundCloud has, they need to pull back the reins a little bit, get off their micromanagement train, and just take chances on people who have, maybe there's a separate algorithm they can use where they can check a song and say, oh, the song is in time and it's in this key and it's this long, so we're going to push it based on, old record label
Exactly.
formulations.
And on top of that, the streaming quality is garbage. It
Terrible.
really is.
Yeah, terrible.
Like, it's MP3 level. Even if you go into the settings and like enable like the hi-fi, or it's not even hi-fi, it's just downloading like the wave file. And even that wave file is pretty lossy, and it shouldn't be that way in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, Apple Music's a little bit better, not too much, but I mean, if you've got things mixed in Atmos, like that's about as good as it's gonna get with Apple Music. I mean, I got my dad hooked on Tidal because he's never been big on streaming, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, there's this new streaming service that does like actual legitimate hi-fi streaming. It's called Tidal. You want to check it out?" And he got like a trial, and he's like, "This is what streaming should have been like all along."
Really? Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, you've got like 98 hertz like sample rate music, like legitimate audio file quality like recordings, and it's great.
I'll check that one out. I've heard of a few. Another one was what's the one they use in Europe? Deezer, I think it's called.
Deezer, yeah.
Yeah, Deezer I've had suggested to me by a couple different people. It's kind of over here we have our, Pandora versus Spotify over there. It's kind of Spotify is the up and comer, but Deezer's the one that everybody's kind of using.
Pandora's another thing. If you like submit your music to Pandora, it has to be accepted by a curator.
Right.
My whole my first single, the first EP, or the first album, and like the first couple singles, not accepted by Pandora. It's not on Pandora at all. It's not in their library. Plain and Pollution is. But Plain and Pollution is not in the algorithmic like radio. You have to search the Terrible Texan, play it, save it to your library, and be like a premium member and pay for it in order to actually listen to it.
We are in the same boat. Saffron's only songs on Pandora are cover songs. I don't know why, but that's the only ones they've ever accepted. It's Terror Time and Come to Me are the only two on there that they allowed through, and I have no idea why. But yeah,
Interesting.
same thing. Never in the radio.
Yeah, it can't be a quality thing. I mean, do you think it's a loudness thing?
It might be
Or
a mass. Good.
do you think, because I can't tell you, because I feel like if you do your covers, it's going to be mastered the same way that your other recent songs within that time frame were mastered as well.
100%.
And why mastering should be the thing.
Yeah, 100%. Everything that we do is batch mastered. I do songs in batches of 6. So I legitimately have no idea. There are, if you go back in time to the 90s when the boy band thing was happening, there were certain formulas that record labels kind of pushed for bands
Hmm.
to write, and it was keep it under 3 minutes. These keys work better than those keys. Keep it at this tempo, and there's that kind of stuff. I don't know if people still use that, but I would imagine with the record label kind of getting fucked in the streaming thing, now they're putting their dicks back on the table a little bit and being like, well, this is what worked for us 30 years ago, so why don't we try it now with these kids? And it's unfortunate because it seems like they're right. It seems like that is what does work.
Yeah, and I think part of it is like just the national attention span's gone down to 30 seconds. Everything's got to be below 3 minutes because TikTok's longest videos are 3 minutes long.
And TikTok is a fucking scourge upon the earth. I got a TikTok begrudgingly because a buddy of mine has a podcast and he's also a music producer, but he does hip hop.
Hmm.
But he was like, dude, we blew up on TikTok and blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, what is blowing up? And he's like, well, we have like 3 digits now instead of one. I'm like, okay, well, that's blowing up for a beginner, I guess. So sure,
Yeah.
let's play the game. And my first post that I did really well. The first 5 did really well. And then after that, everything is just solid right around the 250, 300 range. It's like they feed you a certain amount to get you hooked to it, and then they just kind
Hmm.
of lay you down.
That's exactly what happens. In fact, the Terrible Texan never even got that treatment because it's actually a time thing. Within like your first couple days of getting like a new TikTok account, that's when like you actually start seeing a lot of growth. You're supposed to like post like 3 times a day to actually see continuous algorithmic placement. It's fucking ridiculous. You know how hard it is to do all that? Because like frankly, as a musician, that's really where you're going to get a lot of your fans from nowadays. It's really sad because honestly, I spent way too much on Facebook and Instagram ads over the last year. And if I put that much money into TikTok ads, I don't think I'd be living in this apartment right now. I'm being serious. It's retarded.
Yeah. No, dude, the social media ads are fucking ridiculous. Like 5 years ago, if you wanted to put up and when the algorithms change too, it kind of almost diminishes the point of having an ad in the first place. Because back in the day, you'd put something up,
Yeah.
and things would come up chronologically, and you would get, it wasn't uncommon to get 115 likes even with your 300 or 400 followers because everybody would see it. Now
Hmm.
they go by relevance, and what they consider to be relevant is completely at their discretion. Nobody really knows. Um, but paying for ads now is almost just like throwing money out the window. Like you might get a return, but more than likely you're gonna cap out at 1,000 views or 3,000 views, whatever it is, which sounds like a lot when you're starting, but at the same time, like I know you and I have spent a lot more money than
Yeah,
what 3,000 views is going to yield you.
exactly. And it's really just sort of like this, like how do I make this work for me? And I think I figured it out. I'm not spending any money on Instagram ads except for promoting like shows. Like, and it's just going to be for reach specifically in like the towns that we're going to. It's the only promotion I'm going to do on social media. I'm not going to do anything for like spreading the word about new music or anything like that. It's just going to be, hey, we're going to the show, and I'm going to promote it to people who go to like punk shows because that's pretty much the only use I can really see for it at this point. because I'm at this stage where it's like, all right, I'm in the 4 digits now. I got over 1,000 followers. I'm kind of on a plateau now because now like the next goal is fucking 10,000. Because
It's a lot.
there's no mid goal. There's nothing between 1 and 10.
Well, you could be a wanker about it and say 5K is your goal.
Yeah, take it in pieces, but really that's only when you're halfway there.
That's like somebody who takes a piece of pizza out of the box and then cuts it in half again. They're that kind of person, and then they eat it with a fork and a knife.
Exactly.
Those are the 5,000 people. So when it comes to promoting to a certain demographic, have you considered, now hear me out, I know nobody's ever said this to you before, maybe you guys could cover what's that band from the 90s, Nirvana? You guys could do a Nirvana song, and you could
We play Breed. Breed is in our set list.
okay, why don't
Yeah,
you record it?
because it's a live thing. You got to go to our show to experience it. You want to see Kurt Cobain perform Breed? You got to go to our show.
Well, then do one of the more boring tunes. Do like on a plane or Rate Me or one of those.
That'd be fun.
Be a good
Yeah, I
time.
could do that.
I didn't.
D7's groovy.
Yeah. I didn't realize you look like Kurt Cobain until other people on TikTok started pointing it out. I was like,
When you, s-
you, to me, you look more like Eddie Vedder from Alice in Chains when he was younger and less of a liberal. You look a lot more like him than I think you do Kurt Cobain. But yes, last night you posted a video on there where what were you doing? You were talking about the earlier stuff that you guys had released on Spotify. You're like, yeah, you have Playing with Pollution, but also blah blah blah. In that video, the lighting, the angle, the way your hair was falling, the way you were talking, you looked like a fucking Kurt Cobain doppelganger. It was crazy, and I was like, oh shit, I see it. I totally see it.
dude, the fucking video that blew up at like it's got like 132,000 views. I, I I can't believe it. I'm not. Some people thought that I wasn't even playing guitar. They're like, "There's no strings on that guitar," and I'm like, "You must really have a bad phone then, because there's definitely strings on this guitar. What are you talking about?
That's
It's not plugged in.
that's the
I'm not even."
craziest thing about social media is that, especially TikTok. You're the guitar player and singer of a band promoting your band in which you play guitar, and people are calling you a poser and saying you're not playing guitar.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, fuck it. Who cares?
I had a I had not I had a few. I don't know if they pit me out to these people as a sick joke, but I had a flat earther come on and comment on one of my videos, and they were like, "Well, you know, if it wasn't even about flat Earth at first. What was it about? Something to do with demons or ghosts or something like that." And he basically said something very stupid and very it was about I remember now. A buddy of mine, Emilio from the last podcast, he went to Auschwitz when he was in Germany on tour with his band, and
Mhm.
he was talking about the dread and everything you feel there. And this guy came in and commented and was like, "You'll notice that they didn't mention any blacks because the blacks didn't get killed in the Holocaust. It was just the Jews. But Hitler knew the Jews were trying to take over the world." I'm like, listen, Kanye, you need to not fucking say this shit on my page. You can be crazy on your page. So I went to his page.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, he is balls deep in that shit. You want to talk about a crazy person? He's like the flat earth, the lizard people shit, the Anunnaki. Like, this podcast is about the occult and about the supernatural. And even I was like, bro, you're fucking weird. So
Jesus.
yeah, it seems like the algorithm likes to pitch you up against people who are gonna disagree with you. So aside from the naysayers about your guitar playing and your claims of being a Kurt Cobain's lost twin, have you had anybody kind of like try to diminish you guys?
No.
Just me.
Yeah. I mean, like we have a cop out in our name, and it's like, you guys suck. Well, yeah, what'd you expect? We told you guys in the name of the band. We suck. We can't sing. None of us can sing. We just yell. That's it.
That's fair. When I see Terrible Texan, though, I don't think terrible musicians. I think you're bad at being a Texan. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a Texan in 2023?
Dude, I that's something that I'm trying to figure out myself, actually, because there's been so much change. I mean, like growing up in Texas, it especially like I mean, growing up in the Bush years and the early years of like Obama, like there was like a lot of patriotism, and I'd say a lot of the patriotism went away when Obama was elected, to be honest with you, because it's like, oh, there's a Democrat in office, and he's gonna change the way everything works, he's socialist, and like after that, everything sort of changed to patriotism for like the state. And I actually sort of agree with that because like Texas is the size of Germany and we refine like 99% of the Americas. Like everything's in like the ship channel in Houston, like just down the street. Like that's where we refine all the oil. Like and I realized that Texas is sort of the backbone that holds the rest of the country together because without the oil industry, there's nothing in America. That's why we invaded little brown countries.
Yeah,
You know?
straight up. And when I think of Texas now, it's sad, man, because I live in California and I know what kind of people live here, and they're not all bad, but there's that element. And a lot of those guys went to Texas, specifically. Is it is it San Antonio that's kind of more like artsy?
No, that would well, yeah, they're artsy, but Austin's like really the big thing. But honestly, like the Californians who come here, like despite all of the Texans being like, "You're gonna Californicate my Texas," I haven't seen any of that. I have not met a Californian who's actually met like lived here for longer than 6 months and is still like a Democrat or really far left wing. Like moving here into the state and seeing how everything's run, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and there's really no in between. So there's that. Really,
Yeah,
the big thing that really pisses me off though is the fact that it's completely controlled by Republicans, hardcore Republicans.
yeah. You don't want either side to completely run everything, man.
No.
And there's cities in California that are kind of like that. Well, there's entire counties that are kind of like that. Like Orange County out here is very. You lived here, you know.
Hmm.
But Orange County is still very not white collar in the sense of the types of jobs, but as far as income goes, like you got to make 180K to live in Orange County, period. And
Jesus.
and so yeah, it's gotten bad. So you have those people now who are like, I don't want to be taxed. I don't want to pay for welfare. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And they end up leaning more right. Um, so Orange County has kind of become this area now where you see the lifted bro trucks with the giant flags hanging out the back that are like, let's go Brandon, fuck Biden, Trump 2024, like all this stuff. And then right up the road in Los Angeles, you have the most liberal, inclusive, diverse, kind of la la land fantasy. And it's fucking crazy to see those two things coexist so close together. But Texas also kind of has that, I feel like, at least a little, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's got little pockets, but for the most part, it's pretty conservative. I mean, I live in the most conservative county in Texas. That is actually a fact. Montgomery County is the reddest county per capita in the state of Texas. It might be the most red county in America, to be honest with you.
Dang.
It's kind of ridiculous. You can't go more than 200 yards without seeing a Trump flag. I was seeing like I was seeing Trump 2020 flags up until about like a couple months ago.
You gotta get on with life.
I'm saying, dude, and that's another thing. People out here are so stuck. And being a Texan in 2023 is not not what it should be. So that's why it's like me. I go against the grain because I am not for like Greg Abbott or for Trump or for any of these like other Republicans or anything like that. I'm going against the grain. I'm also not a Democrat. I'm not really that liberal of a person. So like what am I supposed to do? I got to go against the grain of everybody because all the people coming in from California who may or may not be liberal are doing their liberal thing and all the people who are conservative are doing their thing, but I don't like either one of their things. So
Well,
fuck them both.
Yeah, it's
Love them both, essentially. I mean, if you
it's
go through
good.
if you go through like my followers on Instagram, it's really interesting because I mean, I've got songs like Culture War that are like literally about like bringing both sides together, like stop with all the fighting and all these. I mean, these aren't riots, these are battles between two people like screaming at each other in the streets. It's ridiculous. And that's what all that's about is just like stop it. Think for yourself. Don't get caught up in like this like tribal mentality because it's not good.
And it's kind of dumb and self-defeating when you identify yourself through the lens of politics, like what you believe in as your entire identity. That's what sucks about being, I feel like most honest people that play rock music specifically are kind of in the same boat as you and me, where it's just kind of like I don't identify with either one because politicians, I don't care what happened to who said what. At the end of the day, politicians are still just making money off slave labor,
For
fucking
sure.
backroom deals. Like they're all fucking corrupt. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle they fall on, and they're all friends with each other, dude. They're all making money off each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're all insider trading and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So you were in the military.
I was.
What happened? Tell me about your military history. Again.
Again. So I was in the Navy for 2 years. I was a bosun's mate. So I did like all the traditional Navy stuff, dropping anchor, pulling the ship into port, steering the ship, being a lookout, boat operations, crane operations, stuff like that. Bringing Marines onto the boat and sending them off. That was pretty much what I did. Um, and I broke my back at the very end of it. And I was stationed at a naval hospital for 6 months before they said thank you for your service and gave me my DD 214, and off I went back to Texas.
The Is that a honorable discharge or medical discharge?
It was an honorable.
And that was supposed to be, and again, I feel awful because we went through so much more. We dug so much deeper in this the first podcast. But
Yeah.
I know that you said that that was supposed to be kind of the trajectory of your life moving forward. That was like you wanted to be a lifer, you wanted to be enlisted the whole time, you wanted to live out with that. So when that happened, what was the transition phase like when you got out of the military?
So my transition out of the military was actually pretty long, and I don't think it actually really finished for until I started school, really, which would have been like whenever I had my back surgery in 2020, because I got out in 2019, and uh, I was married at the time to my ex-wife, and she was still in the Navy because we after I broke my back and I went to the naval hospital, we met at my new job where I was making glasses for the Navy and all the Marines going into boot camp, so we made all their glasses. And so I was doing that, and she was doing that too, and we met, and I was living with her. So after I got out of the Navy, I sort of just sat around and did nothing for like probably a month or 2, and then I finally got a job, and then I was, like, washing limos and big party buses and stuff, and I just felt like it felt degrading because it went from being, like, the bosun maid of honor at, like, the captain's, change of command ceremony to cleaning up vomit in the back of a limo.
Jeez.
So I did that for, I think, like, a month, and it was only just to get like, some money. And then I quit that, and then I was like a valet attendant for some upscale hotel in San Diego, and I did that until me and my ex moved back to Texas. Because when she got out suddenly. Um, I don't really know how much I can talk about this because she kind of got in trouble. So she got let go a little early, and we it was so sudden. It was just like, oh, by the way, you're out of the Navy in 4 days. And it was like, "Oh shit, okay." So I like contacted my mom and I was like, "Mom, we don't have a place to go. Like, we're out of here in 4 days." We actually had to contact my congressman because the Navy was supposed to pay for them to move all of our stuff. Um, and they didn't have it scheduled because normally whenever you're discharged, all this stuff's supposed to be planned like 6 months in advance. We had
Right.
less than a week, so we had like contact our congressman and get everything squared away with that. And if it wasn't for him, Kevin Brady, we I don't know what would have happened. It would have been a whole paperwork clusterfuck with the DOD, and we would have had to owe so much money to like the military housing company too. It would have been ridiculous.
And all of that on top of your injury.
Yeah, on top, like, yeah, I couldn't move all of my stuff. I was like not bedridden, but I pretty much just went from my bed to my couch, and then like I'd work like 4 hours at night, just like parking cars. That's all I did.
Jesus Christ.
So
So
I did that for like 3 or 4 months until I went back to Texas.
good God, man. And then when you got to Texas, did you start the Terrible Texan in Texas, or was it prior, or what happened with that?
So I mean, like I came up with the name years ago. And whenever I came back to Texas, I really just started like writing music, started getting re-familiar with Pro Tools because I'd been in the Navy for so long, I hadn't really recorded anything. And by that point, like Pro Tools had changed quite considerably actually because they had the 2019 like total redo of the UI and all that. So it was like sort of getting familiar with all that recording techniques and all that. And on top of that, like I had a kid, so the recording sort of went by the wayside for the most part. And I only did it at night whenever like the baby was asleep in the other room, and it was very time restrictive whenever I could do it. On top of that, like I was on massive painkillers after the surgery and going to school, so it sort of fell by the wayside. And then whenever me and my ex like bought a house, I built a studio in our spare bedroom, and that's when I really started the Terrible Texan. And I started just like recording, just like it was just me in a drum room set up on acoustic drums, and it was like really, really garbage music, like industrial ambient noise rock, and that's sort of what it was. And durable music in the Terrible Texan fit the name of it quite perfectly. And after that, I wrote "Do," which was sort of a step down into a more commercial sounding sound, but it's still just noise punk rock in its purest form if you listen to it. And then I wrote "Afghanistan," and I wrote it like the day after the fall of Kabul.
Oh
And because
shit.
yeah, I had a buddy of mine from the ship. Um, he got out of the Navy and started doing contract work, and he was over in Afghanistan. Um, like, and he got out 2 days before the fall. He was, like, evac'd out. He,
Oh
like,
my
had to
God.
destroy a bunch of, like, sensitive gear and equipment and stuff, and he got flown out and flown into Germany.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy, and I just saw all the scenes and all that, and, like, being at the medical hospital, I met so many Marines and sailors who were serving in Afghanistan, who did get hurt, who got blown up and shot at. Their stories, and then to see all this stuff, like, unwind on TV, I was so pissed. So I wrote Afghanistan, like, it's the day after, just seeing all this transpire, and, like, the words came first, and then, like, I grabbed my bass. I wrote that on bass, actually. I was driving, back to San Diego from Houston, and there's, like, this I don't even know what it is. There's just this big sign. If you're heading west, it's on the right side, and you'll see it. It's white, and it's got big red letters, says TTT, and it's in the middle of nowhere in West Texas, like right past El Paso, I think, or outside of El Paso. And I was just like, What the fuck could triple T mean?" I was like, The terrible truck, the truck place. No, that's TTP. That doesn't make sense." And I was like, "The Terrible Texan could be TTT." Man, that's a cool band name. Man, I'm as soon as I'm done driving, I'm gonna look it up. So I pulled over eventually to get snacks and gas and whatever, and I look up on Spotify and on Google the Terrible Texan to see if there's like a band that's named that already. And there's not. So I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna name a band that if I ever get to be able to start one or start a solo project or whatever, that's gonna be it. And about a year and a half later, that it finally came to fruition.
Hell yeah. I was wondering, I saw you guys' ad pop up on Instagram. That's when I messaged you. And I'm a big fan of three-piece bands. A lot of my favorite bands were three pieces. And so I was like, oh, check it out. And the name just caught me though. I was like, the Terrible Texan, what the fuck? And then like I said, I was thinking, I was like, is he bad at being a Texan because he's doing punk music? Or like what is your angle here? And then once I talked to you, I was like, oh, okay, I gotcha.
Cop out.
No, it's fine
uh,
though. It works out. It sticks out, man. Like I said, most people nowadays are like, we are volumes, we are chapters, we are like, it's always a name after like something to do with a library. Like we are bookshelf or whatever the fuck.
yeah.
And so
So
your name is
our
just kind of fun.
yeah, exactly. Like that's another thing is like we get to be able to do so many cool things like because like our mascot, his name's Timmy, Timmy the Terrible Texan, and he's just the skeleton cowboy. And we're actually we might not be a three piece for much longer. We're having auditions for drummers. I'm actually not big on the idea because of the fact that we live in a place specifically like geographically where our area is very little musicians. What musicians are out here are generally like country artists, SoundCloud rappers, EDM artists, and there's not really many thrash punk guys. And if there are, they play guitar. They don't drum, or they sing, but they don't drum. And so drummers are very hard to find. So I'm much older than the rest of the band, like by like 6 years.
Oh, whoa.
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I am the grandpa, uncle, dad of the band. I mean, I take care of all the business stuff. I design all the merch and everything. And like they help write music and they like they're a big part of it. Like without them, like the band is non-existent. Um, but being much older than them, I have a lot more experience like within the music scene, specifically in our area. And in our area, there's not a lot of bands being because it's North Houston. All the bands are really focused on like the southwest and southeast side because frankly it's more suburban, it's more populous, and there's more time for people to get together and play music together. Out here where I live, you have to drive a car everywhere. You can't ride a bike or skateboard over to your friend's house. You have to drive, and you have to drive like 15, 20, 30 minutes sometimes. Like growing up out here, like moving from the suburbs to like the rural suburbs, I guess, like I only had like two friends that lived in my neighborhood and they were a 20-minute bike ride away.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Um
What is the predominant sound out there? What is the Texas sound right now as far as music
I,
goes?
I would say it's punk rock, underground. It's not really it's hardcore punk for sure. I mean, we do not fit within the sound of Houston. And I think it is because we come from the north side. In order to go to a punk rock show in Houston, it's like we have to plan it like weeks in advance. And it's not just because like I have a kid. It's because like it's like who's driving? How are we paying for it? Where do we know this area very well? No. Okay. Well, what do we bring? Like it becomes a whole process.
Yeah, it's a big pilgrimage. Damn. Okay. I was under the impression because right now in California, there's this kind of country soft rock,
Like
like
shoegaze.
yeah, a little bit of shoegaze thrown in the mix. It's just very I don't mean to insult anybody's taste in music. To me, that music always came across as very pretentious. And you can say that about any music, I guess, but to just have the very long delay guitar and to have the singer going, you know, a clear octave above his range, and the really soft drums that you're not playing with sticks, you're playing them with like feathers or oven mitts or something, whatever the
Yeah,
deal. It's a bland time for music. And I do kind of wish, because Orange County is like where punk rock kind of started. Like it was New York,
for
and then for
sure.
California it was Orange County. But right now it's just like,
Dude,
what?
Louis Seidel. You
What?
heard of him?
No.
The OG members of Suicidal Tendencies came together to form a punk rock band called Louis Seidel, and they perform all of their own like new music.
What?
And yeah, they're fucking sick. Suicidal Tendencies memes on my Instagram, and they like react to it. I haven't like talked to them anything or anything like that. I just like send them memes and they like respond to it.
Lewicidal. Hold up.
Yeah, Louis Seidel Venice Punks.
Oh my god. I can't fucking do
Yeah.
it. Lewicidal. There we go. Rock band. Holy shit. Lewicidal is a punk rock. Venice, Los Angeles, California. 2012. Wow, they've been at it for a minute.
Yeah. They've got like 380 like listeners on Spotify. Like they're super underground for being like the OG members of like such a huge inspiration to so many people.
They probably love that though. I think that's where they always wanted to be.
I think so too.
There's they're part of the reason, man. It's them and a couple other bands, but they're part of the reason that like people even know what thrash is, or kind of like the cholo punk scene. Like that didn't
Yeah.
exist. That didn't exist before them.
Mm-mm. No, they were the bread and butter. They started it. Without them, there wouldn't be like the Offspring. I don't think there would be a lot of the bands from like I guess the new wave of punk in the late 90s. There wouldn't be a lot of those guys without Suicidal.
No, no. And Anthrax, I don't think would be as big. Anthrax or Slayer, because they kind of that thrash thing did metal a big favor, I think. And like that,
Specifically with Anthrax.
yeah. Because I don't particularly believe that Anthrax is like a super great original band.
They had one great fucking album. That was it. That's what made them part of the big four was that one fucking album.
Yeah, yeah, and they're kind of just staying on that wagon. I think really the only bands that work out of the big four bands are Megadeth and Metallica. Because you look at what the fuck has Slayer done? Like it could
Dude,
be
they're the AC/DC of metal, dude.
straight
They've
up.
AC/DC made 13 great fucking albums, all sound the same. Slayer has done the exact same thing, but with thrash metal. You can
Yeah,
take any song off of Rain and Blood, and it sounds just like Seasons in the Abyss.
yeah, yeah. Truly, dude. They've done, and like some people are into that, right? There's like that's the only thing I ever want my band to sound like. But there's a point where I think as a musician where you get bored, right? Like just Kerry King doing his
Hmm.
noodly sloppy shredding and just lots of fucking blast beats. Like that can't be fun.
Dude, I know. I I love Slayer. I really do. But you got to listen to them like one album at a time.
Well,
And
it's like
that's pretty
AC/DC.
much it. Yeah.
If you're at a bar and you're drinking and playing pool and you know the room smells like cigarettes and there's lots of questionable women walking around, AC/DC albums are fine. You can play them all night long. But
For sure.
to sit in your car or whatever and like drive cross country, I don't know if I'd listen to AC/DC's discography.
I could do it to Megadeth's for sure.
Megadeth is interesting though. A
I
fucking
met Dave Mustaine.
really?
Yeah.
Tell me the story.
Uh, I'm chilling. All of a sudden, like it's like 2 days or a day before like the new album came out. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Shoot the shit about Megadeth.
yeah, I will. I know very little about Megadeth, but I do love Megadeth. I know Dave Mustaine's Gibson, a custom Gibson guitar that has come out recently, has been critically shit panned due to a YouTube channel, which is unfortunate for Gibson. But Gibson are kind of being dicks lately. They're like a legacy company, been around for a long time. They kind of rely on their, you know, same 2-3 shapes or whatever that they always have, the SG, the Les Paul, the Explorer. And now they're going after smaller companies for, using their Les Paul body shape or their Flying V body shape or whatever for inspiration for their own guitars, which is awful because these companies are barely up and coming. And you can cry all day about IP theft or whatever, but when your, low end instruments are $1,000 or $1,200, and then somebody makes a comparably good instrument with, better electronics, easier playability, whatever the case is, and they sell it for, a third or half the price. I don't feel like a legacy brand needs to go after these small companies. I'm thinking of one in particular called Jericho Guitars that got fucked in this whole thing. So I say now, rather than if you're a guitar player, rather than support a brand like Gibson, I would support a brand like Schecter or Dean Markley or BC Rich or somebody who actually gives a shit about their players and the people that want to play guitar. And yeah, now Paul's back in the mix. Here we go.
I am back.
All right, I went on
So,
a quick rant about Gibson and how much they suck.
oh, and about the Mustaine Flying V.
Yes, I brought that up.
I had to convince Calvin not to buy that, and he bought the Randy Rhodes Jackson instead.
Better option. Hell yeah.
Much better. So I get this text from Avery, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go to Austin tonight?" I'm like, "Man, not really. Why?" And she's just like, "Megadeth's playing in Austin tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, well, we just saw them like in April." And he's like, "Yeah, but he's gonna be like having a meet and greet at Waterloo Records, and every time we go to Austin, we always go to Waterloo Records. It's this record store. It's been there forever. It's legendary. And Dave's gonna be there signing his new album. So we bought a copy of the new record, and we got to meet him, and the whole band like sign
Oh
the
shit.
new album. Yeah. So I got to do that, and I thought I was gonna be like kind of starstruck, like meeting Dave Mustaine. But I walked up to him, and it was like talking to a dying man. Like it was like talking like face to face, like was just like some normal bloke. It was like underwhelming in like a good way,
Yeah.
because it was just like this man is a man. He's got emotions. He's lived a hard life, and you can just like see it in his face. And it was just like, you're Dave Mustaine, and that you really are you. Like it was kind of crazy. But he looked like he was just dead on the inside, and I felt really bad for him.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "You just need to you need to go to bed. It's midnight. What are you doing, dude?"
Drinking a lot of coffee is what he's doing.
Like,
When you meet the rock stars from the 80s and the 90s, it's weird, dude. I was playing in a band for a little while called Stonebreed, and the singer from that band he runs with a lot of those guys like the old Hollywood scene. And so
yeah.
on occasion I'd meet somebody like I met oh god, I'm a terrible person. I forgot his name. Chris Holmes from WASP. I met him at the Whiskey A Go Go.
WASP is the worst show I ever worked for. I do have a pick from them.
Okay. I want you to tell me about that in a minute.
Okay.
And then I met Bobby Blotzer from Rat. Coolest dude in the world. He's
Oh,
very,
sick.
dude, yeah, very suburban dad vibes. He's got a boat and motorcycles and stuff. He's super cool though. And his companion for the show, I don't know if there's anything. I don't think they're romantically involved or anything, but the lady who played Marsha Brady on the Brady Bunch was
Hmm.
there with him. So it was Bobby Blotzer from Rat and then Marsha Brady. So that was kind of a trip. But yeah, when you meet those guys, a lot of the time it's Nita Strauss. I met Nita Strauss, the whiskey, and it's very much they're just a lot of the time they have like dad vibes. They're just like very
Yeah, dude.
much very mellow, very comfortable, or recovering from shit. I met a guy. I won't say who, but I did meet a guy who had an incident happen with them in the early 2000s, and it seems like, again, I don't want to assume much of anything, but to me it appeared as though he'd picked up either a dependency on alcohol or dependency on drugs or something like that, and you could see that in him. Like it's still very evident. There's he doesn't hide it very well. But anyways, tell me about your experience with WASP.
So my day job, also well, it's really my night job, but it's my main job. It's where I get most of my money from. I am like a live entertainment, like concert rigger and audio engineer, and like just general stagehand. So I do a lot of the shows for a lot of the big venues in Houston. and like I I cut in front of like Maynard James Keenan. He was like getting escorted out by security, and I'm busy. I got my whole rigger outfit on, and I'm running through, and they're stepping out of the elevator. And they're like, "All right, coast is clear." And then there's little me just like running through, like, "Excuse me, pardon me," and I just like cut right in front of Maynard James Keenan and like knock into his guitar. And I'm like, "Sorry about that, bud." I called him bud and like walked off and just like climbed the rafters, and I'm up in the air, and he's just like, "What the fuck?"
Did he like curse you with some kind of crazy metaphysical thing, or like throw wine at you, or?
He just looked really confused.
No, he seems like a pretty cool guy, actually.
Yeah. So Wasp. Dude, it wasn't the band. It was their tour guys. And they assigned me to the audio team, and I'm striking all the audio stuff. And I'm like, "All right, where's the road case for this?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And he's like, "Go find it." And I'm like, "What do you mean go find it?" And he's like, "It should be over there." And he just points random direction, like off stage, like front of house, like I'm like, "Thanks, that's." And so I'm like running around. He's like, "It looks like that one." And it's just got like some green gaff tape on it. I'm like, "Thanks." Okay. So I'm running around. I end up finding one of them. And being a rigger, it's a pretty big position in the company because there's like more pay, there's more danger involved, there's a lot more responsibilities, because you're like hanging truss for all the lighting and everything. So I'm sort of like the number two guy there after um the the hand manager, the stage manager. Our stage manager like broke his foot or pretended like he broke his foot for the show. I because he was walking perfectly fine the next day because I had work the next day and he was perfectly fine, but
Did
he
he
was like
just
limp.
did he just not want to deal with Wasp?
I guess so, because he was like limping the entire time he was working, and then he was like just sitting down in a chair like over by like the audio console, just like watching everything happen. And the tour comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, where's the stage manager?" And I'm like, "He's off stage. What's up? I can help you." And he's like, "Do you know where the towels are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know where they're at." And he's like, "Yeah, I need like 6 of them for the band, like ASAP." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So I run off to go get the towels for the band because this guy doesn't know where they are, and I'm the only one who does. So I run off. I run upstairs to the laundry area. I get the towels. I bring it back to the stage, and then the audio guy's like, "What the fuck are you doing with all the towels?" And I'm like, your tour guide needed them. He's like, "I didn't need them." And I'm like, "I know you don't need them. Someone else did." He's like, "Well, I asked you to find the road case." And I'm like, "Look, dude, I have been backstage waiting for Wasp to get off the stage. I was not here for the load in. I'm only here for tonight. I don't know where any of your shit is, and you didn't give me any clear instructions as to where I could actually find it. You don't know where it is. How are you supposed to have me know where it is?" And he's just like, "Well, you're fucking useful." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am actually. I'm probably the most useful person here on this stage, believe it or not." And he's like, "Well, go find something else to do." And I'm like, "Yeah, I have something to do. I'm looking for your guy." And he's like, "Whatever, fuck off." And I'm like, "All right, dude." And
Wow.
I found I guess like the band's like hospitality guy. I'm like, "Here, these are your towels. That guy's a dickhead and he was yelling at me. You should probably talk to someone about that because it was completely uncalled for." And I told like my stage manager about it. And he's like, "Yeah, that's fucked up." And I told like everybody else on their tour, and they were like, "We're so sorry he treated you that way." And I'm like, "Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm doing 2 jobs tonight."
Dude, there's nothing worse than a fucking shitty crew or
I'm
shitty
saying.
shitty talent too. When we again, I'm gonna tread lightly here, but we played with a well-known singer for a band in the 80s who is no
Henry
longer.
Rollins.
No, I wish. God, I wish. I would love to talk to that guy. He
Dude, I
probably
would
just
love to.
he seems so angry, but also like very stoic and very wise. But
I want I want to learn something from him.
yeah, yeah. I want to learn how to do a correct back squat without throwing out my fucking back. Don't die.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were playing with this guy and just a douche, dude. He was yelling at the fucking place we were playing at. And it was a fairly high profile show. There were probably
Was
two or
it Danzig?
No, 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 not
Because
Danzig.
it sounds like a Danzig type person.
This guy probably would equate himself with Elvis Presley, much like Danzig does, but I would argue his day has come and gone, much like Glenn Danzig's, but I promise you it's not Glenn Danzig. Another guy. How about this? Instead of dark hair, this gentleman has blonde hair.
Okay,
I'll tell you off the podcast.
fair enough.
But same thing, dude. He was yelling at the staff. He was like, he got into a fight in a very public part of the. So you come in, there was a backstage, but it was open. There was like no walls behind it. So you could load in your gear right there and everything, and you can kind of see it from the front. He was back there yelling at the promoter for the show about how he wants all the money for the door, and they can take 5% of merch, or they can fuck off, and he's not playing. Like, I heard everything. I was on stage wearing in-ear monitors, and I could hear him over sound check. That's how loud he was yelling. And I was just like, holy shit, dude, who do you think you are? And then I turned around and I realized who it is, and I'm like, okay, you almost kind of have that kind of clout. But like, you hear about these people like Prince, right? Who, like, if you look at him during sound check, he won't perform. And that's just a weird personality quirk. It might be arrogant, it might be egotistical, whatever, but he's Prince. Like, what the fuck? You're not going to tell Prince no.
Yeah.
This gentleman and gentleman at his tier, where they were relevant, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, they still think they're there. They still think they're on Sunset Strip and it's 1985 and they're going to go bang a bunch of groupies instead of going home, putting on slippers, drinking an Infamil shake and watching Maury or whatever it is they do. But a bad attitude in music, ego kills talent, period. If you're an asshole to anybody on the road, anybody that at a venue, anybody that's in another band, like, get fucked. We are all doing a really difficult job, whether it's the staff, whether it's promoters, whoever it is. It is a fucking difficult life. It's fun, but it's hard, dude.
That is the ultimate truth. And I think a lot of young people don't understand that, is that it's so much fun to go to concerts. It's so much fun to perform and play music, but there's a backside to it all. And it's not even like the music industry, like labels and all that. It's hard because you got to deal with promoters. You do got to deal with the egotistical people who think they're the greatest things in the world. You got to deal with the ego checks. I mean, there's a lot in it.
You gotta, you have to. It's a hard job. It's a balancing act because part of you, as a frontman especially, you can sympathize with this. You do need a degree of arrogance about you, of confidence when you're on stage. You have to crank it up to 11 because you have to basically control a room of, be it, doesn't matter if it's 5 people. I would say it's probably harder with less. Whether it's 5 people, 500 people, or 5,000 people, it's your job to basically hold people in the palm of your hand for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. So to do that successfully, I can see the trap where when you're off stage, you want to stay in that persona because you like the power. But at the end of the day, dude, like, if you go to McDonald's, they don't know who the fuck you are. Like, you're a nobody.
I think that's why like bands like Pearl Jam, where Eddie Vedder's like, "Thank you, we love you. Like, without you, this isn't possible." Because that's true. Without the
Yeah.
people showing up, there is no crowd control or anything. There's nobody to move the crowd because there's no crowd to move. And if you have a group of 5 people, and if you can control 5 people, you're a god.
Yeah.
If you can make all 5 of those people start bobbing their heads, you're a G. And that's one thing. Our first show ever, we opened up for 2 shoegaze bands.
Oh no.
It's really interesting. Yeah. So I'm not going to name names, but one of the bands is promoted very heavily by the alternative radio station here in Houston.
Okay.
And we've got over double the amount of listeners that they've got.
Wow.
That's another thing. Like, you really want to talk about censorship and who promotes who? The big alternative radio station in Houston promotes this band over us because they sing about Galveston and having a good time and girls and parties, and because they're 17 and 18-year-old kids. And then we're singing about like societal change and F the government, this, that, and the other thing, and you can tell that it's a subject that media really doesn't want to promote because
Well,
they don't want to promote people thinking for themselves.
right,
If
right.
I sang about good vibes all the time, I'd be a millionaire right now.
I think that what happens is there is. Did you ever see the Jim Carrey interview where he went on Jimmy Kimmel and he was doing the Illuminati thing with his tongue?
No.
Okay, I'll send you that. It's interesting to watch. Um, there he says during that the CIA hires people to distract the public. And again, I don't know how true this is. Jim Carrey had a rough couple of years there, but he said that the CIA runs Hollywood. They hire people to distract the public and throw them off the trail of what's really happening, be it with wars or human trafficking, whatever it is. And I think that paradigm is slowly breaking because I think that the people who, like you or like me, who tackle subjects we want to talk about, and we're not doing this as a job as necessary as much as we are necessarily doing it as like an artistic creative outlet. There's more and more and more and more of them. And even what the fuck is this? Zoom. I just bought a subscription. Get fucked. That's fine. That's
What
fine.
what happened? You froze.
Yeah, they're telling me I have 10 minutes left on this, even though I just bought a subscription. But that's fine. 10 minutes is enough time. I have to leave in a couple minutes anyways.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But more of us are getting into places now where we kind of become the tastemakers. And there is still that annoying element, the old paradigm where it's, oh yeah, this song is about love and it's got a beat you can really move your hips to. There's a place for that, but at the same time, music should be understood as a range of emotions, not just, oh, it's there for me to dance to, or oh, I could fuck to this song, or oh, I'm gonna get all coked out into this song, and blah, blah, whatever. Sometimes music should make you
Yeah.
think. It shouldn't always be comfortable, and it shouldn't always be fun.
You want to know how to know if a song is actually being pushed in the algorithm?
Hmm.
Go to musicstacks.com. Type in the name of any song you want to hear.
Music
And
stacks.
yeah, you can do it with your music, you can do it with my music. Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, they all operate everything on a popularity index now because there's so many songs being submitted and uploaded to these services. There's like 60,000 of them every day. That's why the release radar doesn't actually push you anymore. Because if you follow 6,000 artists, you're never going to be on that release radar. It's going to be really, really hard. So what they do is they base everything on a popularity index, a score of like 0 to 100. And um you really get pushed if your song's in like the 20% or higher. If your song's under that, then you're probably not going to get pushed. So in order to boost your popularity index, you have to like have a lot of like repeat listeners, listen all the way through the song, never have any skips or anything like that. And that's how you have your popularity index high. Like the most popular song of all time is Hey Ya by Outkast
Really?
with a popularity score of 85%.
That low? Well, that's not even that high.
No, because
What the
nothing's
fuck?
100% popular. Because if something was 100% popular, everybody would love it. But that's just not possible.
How weird.
Yeah. So that's been my thing, how to break the Spotify algorithm. How do you actually make popular music according to the algorithm? Because it's not according to people. It's according to the algorithm. And that's what fucking sucks. Because you're not there's a balancing act now that you have to do is like balancing between music that you want to make for yourself, the music you want to make for your fans, and the music you want to make so that you can influence and reach a bigger audience.
Right.
And so now as opposed to balancing two things, you got to balance three.
Yeah, it's a job. That's the thing. That's the trade-off. If you
It's a
want to,
puzzle.
it is, and it's a really, really complicated one, bro. So, where can people find the Terrible Texan if they so desire?
You can find the Terrible Texan on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. Those Apple Music and Tidal. Go check them out. Go get a new subscription. Get away from Spotify. They suck.
They
Go
do.
listen elsewhere. Really.
Fuck
It'll be the
Spotify.
best thing you'll ever do. In fact, I think Tidal's cheaper than Spotify. Um, and you just get so much more out of it. Um, follow us on there because like we're coming out with new music all the time. We're not slowing down. We're not stopping. We don't care if we're still 1% popular. The 1% of people that like us, that's who we make the music for.
Damn
Because
right.
we do love you guys, and without the fans, there's nothing.
Fucking A. Words of wisdom from Paul, the Terrible Texan. Paul, thank you so much for joining me short notice like this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no
Uh,
worries. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, of course. Since this is Zoom, it's not the Wild West, or it is the Wild West, I should
Hell
say.
yeah.
This one will actually make it to air. So I'll talk to you
Sweet.
soon, bro.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Later.